Hi guys, I'm Billy S, and welcome to another episode of Billy's Backlog, the series in 2023 where I aim to tackle as many games from my backlog as possible. This week we're diving into the world of collaborations as we look at one of the most unlikely pairings in gaming history, the iconic world of Super Mario and the f***ing Rabbids. Today's game is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, a turn-based tactics game developed by Ubisoft Milan and Ubisoft Paris, released back in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch. So first things first, why was this game in my backlog? Well, I've owned Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle for quite a few years now. It's been on my shelf since, I'd like to say 2018, but I don't remember when I actually purchased the game. I do remember attempting to let's play it on my old channel, BillyBay10K, though the videos no longer exist. I managed to record up to the end of the second world, as I remember the last thing I unlocked being Princess Peach, but then I just stopped playing the game, which is crazy because I was enjoying it. And ever since, I've wanted to jump back in and actually complete this game, give it my full attention, given all the positivity it garnered with critics. As such, here we are in 2023, fixing the mistakes I made all those years ago, and completing Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. For clarification, this week's video will focus on the base game, encompassing the story and extra challenges that were in the game at launch, but next week, we'll be taking a look at the special Donkey Kong DLC released in 2018, so please look forward to that. But I always want to ensure that in these reviews I focus solely on the base game for my main verdict, because that's what people are paying for initially. Mario plus Rabbids is still a crazy crossover that nobody could have seen coming, much less the fact that Mario wields a gun, Luigi is a deadly sniper, Peach has had enough sitting around, and, well, Yoshi was there, I guess. They did my boy so dirty. First up, let's get into the setup of the game and the gameplay itself, then I'll follow this section up later with some personal opinions. The story is very simple and very Saturday morning cartoon, which definitely fits the vibes of the Rabbids. A young inventor from our world, who is a massive Super Mario fan, creates a helmet, the Super Merge, which can merge two things together to create an entirely new thing, with the help of her AI robot assistant and this game's main character, Beepo. But after she takes a short break, the Rabbids appear in their classic, canonical washing time machine. I'm not making this up. I played more Rabbid games on the Wii than I care to admit. After messing around with the inventor's room, an accidental shot from the Super Merge hits the washing machine, creating an interdimensional paradox that sucks in the Rabbids, Beepo, and everything in the basement, including all the Super Mario memorabilia. Cut to the Mushroom Kingdom suddenly being assaulted by a dangerous vortex, causing real-world objects to merge with classic Mushroom Kingdom locales, creating this hybrid world of recognizable Mushroom Kingdom imagery combined with various household items. It's a trip, let me tell you. The Super Merge then gets merged with a Rabbid, creating Spawny, who is the MacGuffin of this game, and after a brief bit of confusion, it's up to Mario, Rabbid Luigi, Rabbid Peach, and Beepo to save the world from the giant vortex in the sky. The story doesn't get any more complicated than this, focusing solely on the interactions between the various characters in comically fun ways, especially with Bowser Jr., with Beepo being the somewhat snarky, absolutely done with everything, slightly full of himself protagonist of this ragtag group. The cutscenes in this game are filled with charm and lovable moments, and the Rabbids are somewhat toned down from their psychotic antics, and I appreciate that in this game. Special mention goes to the cutscene at the end of World 1 where Rabbid Peach absolutely demolishes Rabbid Kong, or the way Luigi is constantly trying to shift into their selfies after that fight as well. Beepo as a protagonist is fine, obviously we needed a major speaking role as Mario does not speak in these games, nor do the Rabbids, they just go blah, and Beepo really carries the story, even if his character development is going from a fairly serious AI to being so done with everything that he just accepts the craziness around him. There are some truly shining moments in this game's writing, but at the same time, it's a comedic game written by people who think they're comedians, and sometimes the writers reek of trying to make every line a joke, and in typical Rabbid fashion, it's like throwing everything at the wall, including the kitchen sink. For every good joke, there are some real groaners in there. But the gameplay is where it's at, so let's get into it. Gameplay is split between two distinct phases, world exploration and the tactical battles. In the exploration phase, you play as Beepo, guiding your ragtag group across the four very distinct lands in the Mushroom Kingdom: the Ancient Gardens, Sherbet Desert, Spooky Trails, and Lava Pit. These are continuous linear worlds that are split up into 10 distinct chapters. 8 regular chapters where you will explore the world and compete in either 1 to 2 battles to progress, 1 boss chapter, which takes place at the end of each world where you face one of the game's 4 main bosses, and 1 secret chapter, locked behind obstacles which require a power-up you can only get after beating that world's main boss. While exploring, you can come across a variety of different puzzles to solve or hidden paths to find. You'll often be pressing colored buttons, moving platforms and rabbit pipes, completing so many slide puzzles once you have the ability to push blocks, among other things. Throughout the world, you'll find a variety of hidden chests containing collectibles. These can be new weapons, skill orbs for your character's skill tree, or bonus art, soundtracks, 3D models, and tarot cards in the later 2 worlds. Often, you'll just find these chests hidden slightly off the beaten path, or you may need to solve a puzzle in a specific manner to access them. There's always going to be a chest or two you're just not gonna find, no matter how observant you are, so if you really want to collect all the chests in a world on your first go, have a checklist or a guide. It gets a bit tedious when you have zero clue which chests you're missing for a world's 100% completion, and you have to run through the entire place again checking every chest spot. You can also find red coin rings, which ask you to collect 8 red coins in the environment in a specific time frame, which will always get you a new weapon blueprint for completing them, as well as these special rabbit cannons that teleport you to short challenges where you must collect all the blue coins to unlock a gold chest, also containing a new weapon blueprint. The exploration is actually quite fun and is a great way to break up the action, as there's enough hidden content throughout the worlds, and the scenery is surprisingly varied enough that it feels like a real adventure. Special shout out goes to Spooky Trails, easily the best world of the bunch, as you go through a flooded village, a spooky castle, a haunted fairground, and more. This game also looks gorgeous and clean too, using the Snowdrop engine, and aside from maybe being a little too bright at times in the second world, I have zero faults with the graphics themselves. Some of these vistas are genuinely stunning, and this is from a Rabbids game, which infamously did not have stunning vistas. The meat of this game, though, is the tactical battles. You have a party of 3 characters, which will always include Mario, who cannot be switched out, and must include at least 1 Rabbid character, something I learned when I realized I couldn't make a Mario, Luigi, Peach team. I get why this limitation is there, to force people to engage with the actual crossover, but I really wish it wasn't, because it would open up team combinations that much more. Your characters have a base weapon type that they can use, as well as a secondary weapon, 2 special skills, and a variety of movement-based tools, all of which can be upgraded at this game's skill tree, split into 4 different sections. We have movement, attack, technique, and other. Movement focuses on a character's abilities while moving, such as dashing into an enemy for a free attack, or doing a team jump, which allows characters to launch each other across the map, often used to get characters to higher ground or other tactical positions. Some characters have a few extra specific options here, such as Peach, who after doing a team jump can create a healing aura in a circle where she lands that will heal nearby teammates, or Luigi, who can jump off multiple people in the same jumps. Attack is... it's a very basic skill tree. It unlocks a player's secondary weapon, then has 2 slots for upgrading your damage boost from higher ground, and then how many coins you get from a golden shot kill, which is just a special type of kill where Rabbids shower coins when you defeat them. A bit useless, honestly. Technique focuses on a character's 2 special skills, which are placed on cooldown after use, and only one can be used per turn per character. Each character has a different pair of skills which give them different utility in lineups. Mario, for example, has Hero Sight and M-Power. Hero Sight allows him to ready himself, and if an enemy moves within his range, he gets an automatic shot on them. Luigi also has a similar power called Steely Gaze, and it is brutal. M-Power, meanwhile, allows Mario to power up himself or his allies for a turn, boosting their weapon damage. Rabbid Peach's skills, for example, are Shield and Heal, which allows her to shield herself from a percentage of damage, or heal the party, and so on and so forth for all the other characters. The other section of the skill tree focuses on miscellaneous skills such as movement, and how far you can move after leaving a pipe. Surely those should have been in the movement section, right? I'm gonna level with you guys, this is not a good skill tree. It is confusing, hard to navigate, and just doesn't look very good. I would have appreciated on the side when it shows what a power is, if it had a little video visual that shows off that power instead of pictures. Something like the way Ghost of Tsushima's skill tree did it. It would have worked so much better like that. You can tell the skill tree wasn't particularly good either because they give you the option to let the game automatically update your skill tree, which I honestly started doing after the second world because I realized I didn't care about where my points were going. You can reset your skill tree at any time if you need to, so you can reallocate your stats accordingly for each battle, but I maybe did this once. It's nice that it's there though. Anyway, battle. In battle, you have 3 actions you can take in any order you wish. Movement, using a weapon, and using a skill. Oftentimes, I like to use my character's movement abilities first, whittling down enemy health with dashes or jumps, before firing weapons after. Skills are best used when the party is close together so everybody can get the benefits, but I really enjoy the freedom of this battle system. It is tile-based, which I know the sequel has ditched, but for 2017 they really nailed the gunplay and the tactical elements of this title. It feels really good to create a big combo of damage, or managing to use an attack on just the right section of enemies to decimate their ranks. There are also a variety of status effects that can affect both players and enemies. These are Bounce, Burn, Honey, Ink, Push, Freeze, Stone, and Vamp. Bounce and Push are very similar in that they will move whoever is hit to a different location. Bounce causes the enemy to bounce in the air, while Push just pushes them backwards without making them leave the ground. Burn sets a player on fire, doing minimal damage, but causing units to run around aimlessly, and any units they touch during this run also catch fire. Ink, Freeze, Honey, and Stone affect your options during battle. If you're inked, you can't attack with your weapons. If you're frozen, you can't use your 2 special skills. If you're stuck with Honey, you can't move, and if you're hit with Stone, you're completely incapacitated for a turn. Vamp, meanwhile, is a life-draining ability. Rabbid Luigi and Rabbid Mario are the ones who get the most use out of this, as Rabbid Luigi can actually dash into enemies and suck the life out of them, making him very useful as a unit, while Rabbid Mario is basically a berserker tank, so he needs these abilities to keep his health up. All of these status effects can be removed, however, if another character team jumps on the afflicted character, assuming you've unlocked that ability in the skill tree. Should be base kit, but that's my opinion. Whoever uses these status effects better will win the day, and I certainly felt I did. I focused on Bounce, Push, Vamp, and Ink status effects as they felt the best for me, but part of it comes down to what weapons are available for your party at any given time. Weapons are purchasable from the weapons store, which you can access at any point before a fight, or in the overworld by pressing X. You'll collect and unlock blueprints for these weapons as you go, and it's best to stay upgraded with the best gear for your team. There will be multiple weapons you can select, each focusing on a different sub-effect. Your goal in each battle might be different, such as defeat a certain number of Rabbids, escort Toad or Toadette, reach an area at the end of the course, but the aim is the same. Don't let all of your units die. If you beat a battle with all your units intact under the recommended turn amount, you get a perfect score, and at the end of each chapter, the better your battle scores, the better rewards you obtain in the form of coins and skill upgrades. The most important key to success in Mario plus Rabbids, though, are your movement tools. Watch your enemies, they know how to move through the environment, and it can teach you how to maximize your own potential. But perhaps the best tip I can give you? Make use of the Rabbid pipes. When you exit a pipe, you have a specific amount of fixed movement you can take, and in maps where pipes are close together, you can do some crazy movement to get from one side of the map to the other, and pipe movement is an upgradable skill on the skill tree. Enemies come in all shapes and sizes, and I won't spoil any of their mechanics here, but as the game progresses, the strategies you'll need to defeat them get tougher and tougher. It's really fun, especially when mini-bosses are thrown into the mix, and enemies start using their own special skills. You also have to watch out for level hazards. Chain Chomps will chase down whoever is closest to them, and will always take 75 points of damage with each attack. Starting in Sherbet Desert, tornadoes can appear in some levels and will always move in the direction of the weather vanes on the map, bouncing away anyone standing in its path. In Spooky Trails, boos appear on the maps and will attach to any unit that gets too close. At the end of the player's turn, the boo will then teleport to a random spot on the map, taking the unit with them. And in Lava Pit, you have to watch out for pyroclasts, meteors that rain from the sky in specific spots which you can see from the scorched floors. These extra level hazards add an extra dimension of challenge to the gameplay, so be sure to keep track of them. I personally suggest sticking with Mario, Rabbid Luigi, and Rabbid Peach, with Luigi as a backup due to his insane damage output. Rabbid Luigi has elemental damage on his side, while Rabbid Peach is a healer with great health and an automated sentry weapon that can blow up groups, same with Luigi. You can't go wrong there, though I will say Luigi can melt through mini-bosses on high ground with his Steely Stare ability activated. Just watch me destroy Bowser Jr.'s 2000 HP in one go in this ultimate challenge at the end of the game. More characters unlock as the game progresses, but honestly, aside from Luigi, I barely found myself using Rabbid Mario, Peach, Rabbid Yoshi, or Yoshi. They just didn't have the utility or team synergy I was after, and in the case of Yoshi, he's so shoehorned in just 5 chapters before the end of the game that nobody was going to use him at that point after being so comfortable with their current team compositions. I sincerely hope with the sequel the characters are all available to the player much earlier on in the story, because I want to experiment and use these new characters, but you need actual content to use them in. When you're not battling or exploring the world, you take refuge at Peach's castle, which gets, well, steadily messier the further into the game you get. You have access to the weapon shop, a museum for viewing your collectibles, the time washing machine, which lets you replay chapters of worlds you've completed, and gets you quick access to the special challenges that unlock after each world. These are worth doing, as they're not terribly hard and can teach you more mechanics of the game while giving you some coins as payout. And if you want 100% completion, you do actually have to do these challenges. You may need to kill a certain number of enemies in a very short turn order, or somehow get your 3 units to 3 very different spots on the map using enemy attacks to bounce you around, stuff like that. There's also a buddy dojo for co-op content, but I have no buddy with me. Therefore, I did not try this content out and will not be factoring it into my review. But if you have kids, the buddy dojo could be a very good way of playing this game with them. I'm sure it's good content. After beating the game, Peach's Castle is also home to 4 ultimate challenges, which will test you to your absolute limits. I highly recommend them if you reach the end game because they're a lot of fun to test what you've learned and how skilled you've become. Just be sure to set some time aside for these battles, as they can be quite lengthy. And I really hope you like escort missions with Toad, unlike Beepo. And that's it for base game content. It's quite a meaty package that could take you a good 20 to 30 hours to complete if you take it nice and slow and want to go for those perfect scores. But now my personal thoughts. I think the gameplay in Battle is extremely fluid, and the systems are complex enough to allow some pretty crazy combinations, while being easy enough that you can recommend this game to a younger player and they get a lot out of it. I have nothing negative to say about the battle system. There are some UI and design elements, though, I definitely think needed some work. When you get a critical hit on enemies, sometimes the game likes to do this slowdown effect, but when the enemy is bounced out of the arena and then warped back after taking ring-out damage, it can take ages because of this slowdown effect. There were quite a few instances of camera clipping in-game as well, which I guess is to be expected when you start getting zooms on characters when they fire attacks, but it's not meant to happen, so I am pointing it out. And lastly, this is definitely a personal gripe. I really hated the over-reliance on static images to convey information. Unlock a new character? Here's a pair of static images with that character's official render slapped on. Beepo can't use a power? Have an instant static box that says that. Unlock a secondary weapon on the skill tree? Have a flat image, everybody. There's no animations on a lot of the UI, and it's the sort of thing I notice. It's a shame because the loading screen has some great animations for it. The Beepo with the spinning ears is beautiful. I'd also appreciate it if at the start of each battle we can see the turn limit needed to achieve a perfect score, and in the same vein, allow us to pause the game and view the current world's collectibles and progression stats. We can see these statistics at the Peach's Castle cannon for each world, but once we're actually there, it's impossible. Also, I'm sorry I'm getting negative here, Beepo's new powers are just there. When you beat a world, no explanation, just a, you can do this now, no story significance, nothing. His powers just feel so arbitrary and gamey, but not in a fun way. They are purely there simply to lock out the secret chapters. It felt like the Rabbids, the characters, and the cutscenes got so much love and attention, but then the UI took a bit of a hit. But at the end of the day, what's important is that the gameplay itself is stellar, and UI gripes are a minor nitpick when it comes to the quality this game tends to hit for most of its runtime. Remember, I'm British. We like to complain, but we know when something is good or not, and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is good. It is a hard recommend. It's one of the best affordable and accessible real-time strategy games on the Switch. If something like XCOM or Fire Emblem is too much for you, this is a great alternative. And I can only hope the sequel improved on the original, and if the reviews are anything to go by, I think it did. Adding this unscripted segment at the end of the video because I realized I didn't once mention the music, which is a criminal shame because Grant Kirkhope, composer of the Banjo-Kazooie games, worked on this soundtrack and did a phenomenal job. The battle themes are catchy and exciting. The world exploration themes are mystical and intriguing. Everything just works in terms of the music in this piece, and I just think this game's music really elevates it to a higher plane of existence. I just wish the track names were a bit more interesting because it was very confusing collecting certain soundtracks and seeing the same names pop up multiple times, but the music itself, mwah, God tier. Listen to this soundtrack, it's so good. Anyway, back to Past Billy. Next week, we'll be taking a look at the Donkey Kong DLC for Mario plus Rabbids, as well as the extra hard challenges, which will be a shorter video overall, so look forward to it. Thank you for watching this video. All the links to my socials are on screen now. Be sure to follow me where you feel comfortable. And I just want to give a massive shout out to all my patrons for their wonderful support. Without you, this channel wouldn't be here right now. Have a good one, guys. And if you want to support the channel, links are down below. See you next time. Bye-bye.